This feels like it's been a long time coming. Hello, it's Romania Black, and man, we are starting a new sports anime series. It's been a year since I've done that. So if you are new to my channel, I am Romania Black. I'm a teacher, I'm a speech coach, and I review anime and manga in my spare time. And I have been watching a sports anime, Kuroko's Basketball, for the last year. And so it became closer and closer to time to replace it. And I have heard about Blue Lock since the summer of 2022. And the only reason I knew about it then was it was about to come out. And I was watching Summer Koshin, the Japanese baseball finals, and every advertisement for that entire final series, for like the 3 or 4 games that we watched, every ad was for Blue Lock. And I was like, why are we having soccer advertisements during a baseball game? But that was when I first heard about it, and then I have been plagued by the Discord for many, many months to watch Blue Lock. So when it came time to do the polls to replace Kuroko's Basketball, I decided I would do like a big summer bracket. Like we narrowed down from like 30 sports options to the top 16, and then we did like the series of brackets, and it didn't matter. As somebody in the Discord said, you could have just skipped all this and gone right to Blue Lock, and I'm like, I know, but I wanted to give Patreon as many options as possible to knock this series out, but no, the Blue Lock fandom is rabid from what I understand. I feel like those that know about Blue Lock are either in 2 camps. Either they are rabid Kool-Aid drinking cult members, or they despise the series because of those rabid Kool-Aid drinking cult members. I don't think it's the series itself. I think it's just the fandom. I'm excited. I've got my Blue Mondos ready. I'm ready to drink the Kool-Aid. I'm ready to get on board with this series. I have no clue about it. If you're not familiar with my channel, I go into these series blind. I have no idea. I have never watched anything with Blue Lock. I don't know what the plot is. I don't know anything. And I like that. I want to go in and be completely surprised, especially for a sports anime. So Blue Lock won the last poll that we had by several votes. It was a pretty clean sweep. But March Comes In Like a Lion got really close to giving it a run for its money. But here we are, 24 episodes. I am going to watch them 1 episode a week. With Ace of the Diamond and Kuroko's Basketball, I watched several episodes at once because there were a lot of episodes to get through, and I didn't want to be watching it for 3 years. But we are going to do 1 episode a week for Blue Lock, kind of like what I did with Run with the Wind. Going to do the same thing with that series. However, you may be wondering why I'm wearing this baseball jersey. Well, because I made a pact with Patreon saying that if Blue Lock won, I would be spending every single episode supporting my favorite sports anime of all time. So if you're not familiar with that, please have a look. Hi, it's Romania Black, and I know I'm watching Blue Lock, but I want to tell you about another sports anime that you might need to see. I know that you may be here watching a soccer anime, but when you're done with that and you're wondering what else to watch, why not watch Ace of the Diamond? It's about baseball, Nakama, potential shipping, and is over 175 episodes of pure, beautiful animation and story development. So when you're done watching Blue Lock and you're just wondering, what else can I watch now that Romania's reacted to episode 1? Start Ace of the Diamond. My reactions are up on YouTube today. See you guys at the reaction. Sorry! Get ready. Every episode is going to be me in some capacity sporting Ace of the Diamond. So, but seriously, when you're done with this reaction while you're waiting on next week, just go start watching my reactions to Ace of the Diamond. It's a great series. You should watch it. But yes, so I am excited to get started with this series. I want to give a special shout out over to Patreon as well as my YouTube subscribers, but over to Patreon, thanks to these patrons specifically. Patreon is amazing. I would not be able to watch this series without you all, but these patrons in the philanthropy tier, they get a shout out each week in my videos, and so I want to give special notoriety to them and thank them for all their support. So thank you so much. If I can talk, to Edgar, Dana, Alex Cordejo, Be Happy, Kiri, Shimoyama, Nameless Monster, Argent, Matthew Palfinier, Ashy Got Snow Bitches, Tyrone, Anime Annie, Eric Sunspots, Translucent Men, Legatus, Goob, and Anna. Thank you all so much. I greatly appreciate your support. All of my love. But yeah, like I said, I have no clue what the series is about. No idea. The only thing I ask to you all is to please don't spoil me. I don't want to know spoilers. I like to go in blind. I may have a moderator check my comments to make sure nobody's spoiling me. I don't want to know manga content. I don't want to know anything except what we are presented in this episode. I don't want to know anything of what future episodes hold. Nothing. I want to go in completely blind, be surprised, so you all can be entertained. So yes, I'm excited about that. I can't wait to start. It's been a long time coming, but here we are. So, so in any case, I'm excited. I hope you all are too, but we're not going to waste any more time. We are going to dive right into Blue Lock and just see what the hell this is about. I played 1 year of soccer, but I was 8 years old. Do I remember anything about it? No. I think when you're 8 years old in America, they're just like, soccer, kick the ball around, try to make it into the goal. You can do that, right? And I am not athletic, so I could not. So we're going to find out, but let's not waste any more time and just see what we get. So we are going to start Blue Lock here. I want to make sure that I got the dub on, or the sub on. I like doing the subs more than the dub because, I mean, let's be real. All right, we're going to start this here in 3, 2, 1. Let's see what all the hubbub's about. Okay. What a weird series. I'm in. No, I'm in because this series is weird and I like weird. I'm all for weird, but it's such a bizarre premise, right? For a lot of reasons. We're going to talk about all these, the entire, like, Nakama? Never heard of it. I'm so excited. To talk about this series. I didn't think I was going to be bringing Whiteboard Kun out for episode 1, but it is necessary because we get a lot of processing information. This is Whiteboard Kun. If you've never met Whiteboard Kun, he is my explainer of all things. He helps me. And I usually don't bring him out in sports anime until like a couple episodes in, but no, after this episode I was like, we need to go over players, we need to go over a lot of things. And I had to take a little bit of time after this episode to go look up what the fudge soccer is. Because now, I did not read heavily into it. I've not heavily researched because I like figuring out things as I go through sports anime. When I started Ace of the Diamond, I despised baseball. I knew nothing about it. I was not particularly interested to learn. And over the course of that series, I learned a lot about Ace of the Diamond and a lot about baseball and a lot about all the positions and plays and things like that. And I feel like I'm somewhat educated now. My thing is, I would do that with Blue Lock, but Blue Lock seems to only be focusing on one specific position, which first of all, I like. I like that unlike other sports series that focuses on the game as a whole, no, we're going to focus on one specific dynamic. Now, do I think that that specific dynamic will be tested against others? Yeah, I do. So I wanted to kind of know like some basics about soccer because like I said, I played it when I was 8 years old, but back then as a kid, they were just like, just get the ball to the goal. That's all you gotta do. Which essentially, according to Levi 2.0, that's all you gotta do in this. Is just get the ball to the goal. Shouldn't be that hard, right? Why do you make it hard? Because of Nakama. We'll talk about this. But okay, so if you're not versed in soccer and you were starting this series and you're like, I don't know what the hell they're talking about, what's a striker, what's going on, I literally just did a 2-minute review on the official soccer website. I'm from America, so we call it soccer. Everyone else in the world calls it football. We're Americans, we have to make things complicated. So I've got the positions of soccer, aka football. I will probably call it soccer just for my sake to be legit, but to keep myself straight. But essentially, you have 4 different categories of positions in soccer. You have the goalkeeper, who is there can be only one. It's like the catcher in baseball. The goalkeeper is like the catcher. There can be only one. There's one goalkeeper. Then you have players in the defense, midfield, and attack, which makes sense. When you have when you play on a soccer field, you essentially kind of like hockey. You have 2 goals on either end, and the idea is to drive the ball to either goal. So you have your defense on one side, your attack on the other side, and your midfield in the middle. Makes sense, right? Seems pretty cohesive. So there's one goalkeeper or goalie, and they gave like all the different like technical things you needed to be as a goalie. Obviously a goalie has to be somebody that's pretty agile, pretty athletic. They're basically the defender of the goal ultimately. But there's only one. Only one person can be that in the game, right? Or on the team. There are a total of 11 people on the field for each team. You have one goalie. Then you have 4 people that are involved in the defense. You have the right and left fullbacks, which I guess are on either side here, and you have the center fullback. So you have 4 people helping the goalie to defend the goal. Makes sense. We don't want a sports anime about them. Right? They're not moving us forward. This isn't the Attack Titan. No way, man. So we're not talking about them. Then we have the midfield people, which are 4 people, the right and left wings, right in the midfield, and the center midfield. And they're kind of the people, as far as I understand, that kind of keep things. They're in charge of trying to disrupt the play, keep the strikers from getting towards the fullbacks and the people in the center, right? Makes sense, but we're not talking about them. Boring. They're mediocre. They're in the middle. Who wants that? No, we're talking about the 2 forwards, the people that keep the ball moving, the attack people. There are the strikers, right? The strikers. And they talk about this as the very typical lineup where you have 4 defense, 4 middle, 2 attack. It's what they call a 4-4-2 formation. Now, here's the thing that can be kind of interesting about soccer that I didn't realize, and that's the fact that you don't have to stick with this. There is a little bit of a chess kind of formation of it where you don't have to do 4-4-2. You can do like 4-3-1 and have 1 striker. If you've got like the egoist that Levi 2.0 is talking about, that you have him there, you can have 1 striker, or you can have like 3-5, and then 2. You can do that. There's always going to be 1 goalkeeper. So these all have to just line up to be 10, right? Whatever equals 10 players plus your goalie is your 11, right? So it can be all different kinds of formations. You could have 3 strikers and have like 3 and 4. That's the thing. That's kind of what's cool about this. I don't think the different positions I saw on there said they didn't have more. They're usually 1 to 3 strikers, and then you have to balance it out, because if you all just have attack and nobody's defending your goal, then that's going to kind of suck and you're going to be at a disadvantage. So yeah, I like this. I didn't know anything about soccer. I'm kind of interested already. I like the idea that this is not situational, that you can revolve this around. What makes it interesting, and that kind of ties into the idea that they are looking for the Japanese team, kind of like in Haikyuu when they're forming the Japanese team, you want to have multiple in each area, right? So they are looking for the top 5 to play in this tournament. Now, are we actually going to get to that tournament this season? I don't think so. I think we're just going to narrow down to our top 5. I think that's what this season is going to be about, narrowing to the top 5 out of 300. It's either the top 5 out of 300, or it's going to be like, who's going to be the number 1 striker, right? We want to have the number 1 forward. Now, what's interesting about this is that typically in play, there are 2 forwards. Typically, that's like the average, which is so fitting, because then you have our main character and his rival, who's going to be the most egotistical on the field, scoring all the points, but they're still going to be working together. So it's like, okay, cool. We're going to talk about that in this episode, but I like the idea of the positions of soccer and how this is being centered, but we're focusing on the juicy, the sexy positions. Strikers, they're the ones attacking. They're the egoists. They're the ones that are making all the moves, right? Which is really exciting. I'm very interested to see how this is going to go down, but okay, so I can kind of see why people immediately would either gravitate towards this series or be turned off from it, because yeah, the notion that this series does not seem to be about teamwork, okay, but I think inadvertently it's going to tie back around to it, just not in the way that we think. But I like immediately how, if you were somebody that is like me with Ace of the Diamond, with Haikyuu, and it's all about teamwork, it's all about the power of the Nakama, and kind of Kuroko's basketball and Ace of the Diamond and Haikyuu all focus around this theme of teamwork. Teamwork makes the dream work. And we can't just be individual players. We have to be able to work with one another and function as a team, and the power of Nakama saves the day. Not this series. This series is like, forget that. And the thing of it is, we see right off the bat how that mentality doesn't work and it can fail. And the fact that our main character in his high school game, in their finals game, passes it to the player, does what the team does, the thing for the team, and then he misses the goal. And but there's something interesting going on with that, right? And I think it's important to bring that up and what I think this show is about, which I'm really excited by. So, okay, we get introduced to it's the Saitama Prefecture Finals of the high school soccer. Right off the bat, what I really like about this is the idea that he's already a third year. Like, he's already almost into his final year of high school. I love that. Like, in Run with the Wind, they're already in college. Like, we start out, we get flashbacks to Kakeru's high school days, the main character, but we're in college when the story takes place. I like that. I like that it's an older set series. I like that we're already starting with our main character being a second year, about to be a third year, his final year of high school, and then he gets enlisted into this crazy experiment. And he's like, well, why not, right? I'm about to be a third year. It seems like he's in this stagnant place of, I'm about to be a third year. Nothing's really changing for me. So do I just keep doing the same thing my team's been doing? And now we've lost our third years. And it sounded like, from the state of things, that he was frustrated because it sounded like there weren't any good prospects. Like, maybe the first years under him weren't that good. And now that they've lost the third years, he's like, well, is my team going to be as good next year or not? Do I keep going and hoping that it's going to be, or do I change things up? And he wants to change things up. So I want to go through this and meet our characters. So Isagi, we get on here, find him on here. So we have Isagi-kun is our main character. Some of these names, I'm usually terrible at names. So I'm glad that Blue Lock decides to give us like little badges to show us who each person is. I'm like, thank you, God. Otherwise, I'm not going to remember. If we win, we go to nationals. So Ichinin High School, Isagi Yoichi. So we need to, Isagi is our main character. Get him down. Isagi-kun. He is our MC, and he is a second year. Yes, he is a second year in finals. Of course, his name has to start with an I, like Ichigo. Like, he's the one, Isagi, right? He is literally if Kageyama and Eren Yeager came together and made a character, which is hilarious because the guy voicing the bowl cut man is Levi. Yes, he literally, I get Eren Yeager vibes from him, and if you've not watched Attack on Titan, it will make no sense to you. But he really is, like, it's so interesting to see a protagonist that kind of has this darkness in him. And it's like this show kind of fosters it and is like, let's be egotistical. Because you have Sawamura for Ace of the Diamond, who is egotistical, but he's Sunshine Boy. Like, he's the nicest egoist you'll ever meet. He's super sweet, but he is an egoist. He's already there, right? And pitchers in baseball anime usually kind of already have that ego established. Then you have a character like Kuroko in Kuroko's Basketball, who's very passive and quiet, but has this fiery passion within, but he's all about the Nakama. And then you have in Run with the Wind, I guess I would liken Isagi a little bit to Kakeru, where Isagi and Kakeru both have this sense of strong independence. But Kakeru in Run with the Wind is already like for himself. It's just he's got all these other mental hurdles to get through and trauma from his past to get through. And Isagi, the thing about Isagi's character that this series is trying to foster is not only this sense of ego, which it is tied to ego as I say this, but this idea of self-confidence and self-improvement alongside competition. That at the end of the day, it's about, okay, are you confident in yourself that you know as a striker, you will be able to make the call in the moment to do the thing? And the thing about it is that there's the phrase that comes up in this episode, all for one and one for all, right? And so the one for all kind of moment ties to the fact of Isagi passing to the teammate. He's like, oh, I'm doing this for the team. It would make sense to pass to him. Let's go. But then the all for one, that there were all for one goal and everything, is that all of us are making decisions that will help us get the one goal. The coach tells him to pass it because that seems like the logical choice. But the thing about it is that's never really addressed in this episode that I think will come up later in the series is, and Isagi questions it, he's like, if I took the goal for myself, if I was assured in my own abilities and I knew I can make it, and I took the goal for myself and didn't pass to the teammate, and we scored the goal and tied, would that have made a difference? And I think it would have. And I think by the end of this series, Isagi is going to come to the conclusion that it's not a bad thing for me to know and be able to make the right judgment call to know when I need to do something. Do I need to do this for myself? Do I need to do it for my teammate? Do I need to pass to my teammate because I know I can't do it? There needs to be that, like Isagi in this series starting out, seems like he's not assured in knowing, he doesn't trust his own judgment about what his abilities are and what he's capable of. And this giant experiment is going to let him become self-assured. Now, we'll talk about the other concepts it's bringing up, but I think that in a way, a lot of times in sports anime, the focus is so much on teamwork that you sometimes lose the understanding that you also need to be sure in yourself. I think Kuroko's Basketball did a nice balance of that. However, Kuroko's Basketball was very much like, at the end of the day, teamwork is the dream work. We can't be just a bunch of egoists on the field. And this series seems to say, like, what if the Teiko mentality wasn't wrong? But what's going to be the big question is, because in Kuroko's Basketball, the Teiko mentality of that team is we just win no matter what. Now, that does not seem to be the case here. It's not that we have to win no matter what, but it's this idea of we can't be passive, just little team players that just get along, sing kumbaya, and hold hands. We also have to understand that we have to be the strongest individuals as well. It's very similar to Inashiro in Ace of the Diamond, who have that mentality of let's bring all of these amazing individuals together and we'll form a team. I guess that's what it is. It's more of we're building Inashiro, not necessarily Teiko, because Teiko is all about winning no matter what. That doesn't seem to be the case here. Bowl-Cut Levi seems to be saying, we're not just trying to just win, we want to create a team that is capable of winning no matter what the situation is, right? So it is a little different than Teiko, which I'm okay with. It seems like this series is about, let's make Inashiro. Let's build Inashiro as a team and go from there. I'm all for it. It's so kooky and bizarre. And so we have the idea that they lose the game. He makes the mistake. And then we have Kira-kun, old Kira-kun, who is the star player from the opposite team, right? He scores the goal. And then we see Isagi, who sees like Kira and them and is like, okay, I want to see if we got his character reveal there. I want to see who he is because he's in the green uniform at the very beginning there. And the ball like goes back to him. Soccer is not easy, by the way. If you've ever played soccer, it is not easy. No, we have Kira Ryosuke, who's also a second year. Kira. All right, Kira and Isagi. Now, my prediction is by the end of this, and we'll talk about how that could happen. My prediction is that by the end of the series, our two strikers are going to be Kira and Isagi. Are we setting up Kira and Isagi to be our shippable couple? I mean, we have the blonde hair and dark hair dynamic already. We also have... Kira is interesting. Kira is interesting because he's a different character than I thought he was, but maybe not. We'll talk about him. We'll talk about Kira. He is the pretty boy. He is the Mei with the blonde hair, but he's also like Oikawa from Haikyuu and Atsumu, where he has the fangirls, and he's just like, he's like a combination of Mei, Oikawa, and Atsumu mixed together, which is a combination I'm all for, because I love all three of those characters. But he very much has like, he's the pretty boy, he has the fan club. But what's interesting is, at the beginning of this episode, I thought it was all a facade. I was like, oh, well, he's just putting on being the celebrity and being like, oh, yes, I'm very congenial. And then when he meets Isagi outside of the facility where they get introduced to Blue Lock, he's always like, oh, yes, oh, Isagi-kun, we were going to be bestest of friends. And I thought it was all a facade. I thought, no, this guy's really a jerk underneath it all. But then when he's talking to Bowl-Cut Levi, he like is saying like, no, teamwork is everything, and how dare you, and I'm here. His MO is that he wants to prove the system wrong, supposedly. He wants to prove the system wrong. And for Isagi, the system is his dream. Like for him, he's like, oh no, this is exactly what I want. I want to get proven. I want to become an egoist. I want to become self-assured. I want to become the best striker. I want to become like Noah. That's my goal. Whereas Kira's like, I want to prove the system wrong. I want to prove that Nakama, which is so fascinating because usually the characters like Mei or Oikawa or Atsumu, they're not trying to prove the system wrong. They're like part of the system. And usually the main character is trying to prove them wrong. But in this case, Kira is the pretty boy that's trying to prove our main character wrong and the system. And it's a very interesting dynamic. It's not at all what I've seen in sports anime, and I'm here for it. My thing is, I'm like, deep down in Kira's heart, I think he's an egoist. And deep down, I think that he is he wants to be the egoist just as much as Isagi, but he's built up all these walls with the Nakama that this series is going to slowly tear down and reveal that he's in the same boat as Isagi, but this series is going to corrupt him and expose that. It's like, oh my God, like I'm ready for the Shakespearean villain twist with Kira. I'm ready for it already. He like is presenting himself as Nakama and friendship forever, guys. But I'm like, that only is good for Kira because Kira's always been the star. Like Kira can say, oh, well, of course, Nakama. Of course, my friends. Because his team's always won, and he's always been the star that's led them to victory. However, if he gets placed on a team that isn't like his old team, and he's put in a position where he starts to doubt that, is he going to actually reveal that, no, I actually am an egoist. I want to win and stand out on my own. I've just been hiding behind this veil of Nakama because that's just been presented to me like it's always just worked out that way. So I'm so excited to see what all is going to happen with him. I'm excited to see him be corrupted. I'm excited to see this go down. This series, though, the animation is it seems off-putting at first, but it's very exaggerated and over the top. It reminds me a little bit of like, I've not watched this series, but I could see the comparison. Kind of like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. It seems very much like over the top like JoJo's or like Bobobo or something where the animation's really extreme. And it's kind of like, it's expected to be that way. It's supposed to be exaggerated and hyperbolic. It's supposed to be exaggerated and over the top. And I'm fine with that. It makes it look extreme. And the premise is so ridiculous that it kind of needs to be extreme, right? Because we have our very Haikyuu Sarune moment where we see like him walking home, Isagi with the bicycle, and he's kept his emotions inside the whole time, and then finally he lets it all out and he's mad that they lost. He's like, what's gonna happen to my team? Like, am I just wasting my time? How can I go to nationals? How can I be the best striker like Noah if I'm just second rate? Like, you can tell that it's a really cool moment where our main character is part of a mediocre team. And I say mediocre. They made it to the finals, so they're not that mediocre. But you can tell that in Isagi's mind, he's like, I'm capable of so much more, but I'm being held back by my team. He's like, I'm one player that could do so much more, but I need more self-confidence, and I need to be with a team that can give me what I need. And that's not cutting it right now. And I'm like, okay. Because normally, the main character gets on a mediocre team and they find a way to elevate it. Like, you have Shoyo with Haikyuu, you have Kagami with Kuroko's, you have all that where they're on a team that has a lot of potential, but they're just not there yet. And then they get on the team and they make it work. And here, Isagi is like, there's that situation. Isagi's like, that's not realistic. That's not good enough. So I like this series. Like, we're not going to go down that route that you've seen in every other sports anime. No. We're going to be part of this experimental program. I'm like, okay. But we get like a Noah looks like Aomine mixed with Bokudo from Haikyuu, which is a terrifying combination, right? And then we get, Isagi he's like Shoyo. He's like so many other characters he saw on TV, a famous soccer player, and he was inspired. and he had a little blush on his face, and then he trained himself and got better, and he was a really good middle schooler player, but he just feels like he's like, my dream will never be more than a dream because I'm just held back by what I'm stuck with. And he's like, I want to win the World Cup. And it shows him like he wants to be the one leading his team to victory. And we see like just the fire in his eyes. And it's like blue fire because of course it is. And so we go home and is like, his mom's really sweet and everything. His dad's kind of a dunce, which is fine. His dad's kind of like not sure of anything. His mom seems like she's on the up and up. And he says, you've been selected to become a certified athlete. And he's like, why me? Because he's like, I seem to be mediocre. But the thing is, they picked the best player from 300, the best striker. It seems like they picked the top strikers from the top 300 schools in Japan, which makes sense. They picked the 300 strikers that were the top of their teams for the prefectures in Japan. There's 300, right? And he's 299. Makes sense. He's not the bottom, but he's like barely there. Makes sense. And so then, of course, he runs into Kira. I want to pay attention to what numbers they all are. And Kira, like, gives him all these compliments and everything. And it's like, yeah, I, like, didn't feel... At first, I was, questioning, like, because normally characters like Kira, they're the pretty playboys that put on the facade. And so I was like, I don't know if I should trust Kira. But I do think that Kira believes what he's saying, even if, in reality, he's, like, more of an egotist than he lets on. Okay. And we get to the start where we see all these different people, right? We see all these characters. There, I'm sure will come up. We have these two twins. Like, let me go in here. I want to see, like, if we get anyone standing out. Yes, we have, like, all these characters with funky hairdos that I'm like, I'm sure they will come in and be characters at some point in this series, right? We have these two twins. We have a guy with, like, an extreme pompadour that's like in a big fin. We have him. We have the two characters that have like the what is it called? It's like a checkerboard houndstooth jackets. One has purple hair, one has white hair. They're probably going to be in this series and be relatively important. There's guys that are recognized. A guy with the blonde mohawk. We see him. We see some big, giant, tall guy. The tallest high school athlete, Ishikari. So Ishikari will probably come back up. Nishioka, the Masai of Aomori, is here. Whatever that means. I'm sure they'll come back in this. Everyone's a striker. Yeah. Everyone's an attack player. And then we have Levi. We have Kamiya, the voice actor Kamiya, the diamonds in the rough. U300 are 18 and under strikers who have been chosen according to my arbitrary and biased decision making. God, I am Ego Jinpachi. His name is literally Ego. Oh my God, Jinpachi. Okay. So we literally have Ego Jinpachi, who is the organizer with his little soccer bolo tie. The man who hired to make sure Japan wins the World Cup. So man hired to the national team, like the organizer. I'm very interested about Ego. He is like a mad scientist, like IT nerd. I want to know if he's played soccer and what position he played. I would assume it's a striker, but what if it isn't? What if he's a goalkeeper? I don't know. What if he's never played soccer before in his life? What if he couldn't play because he has like some condition because he looks like Slender Man and it didn't allow him to play? He looks like he hasn't slept for months. He has a bowl cut. I'm so fascinated by his character because it's Kamiya voicing him, and he does such a great job voicing him. He sounds like Levi and Rompo from Bungo Stray Dogs on crack, is what he sounds like, and I'm here for it. I just like, and his character design is so bizarre, but he's like Ego Jinpachi. Like, he's just such an interesting character. He's so weird looking, and his features are so extreme. I'm like, who is this guy? What did he just say? And I love that what's so fascinating is like Isagi immediately like gravitates towards him. And I'm like, this could be the most demented mentor-student relationship ever. Like, I'm just so weirded out and ready for more. And then we have the lady out to the side who looks like the dark version of Rey from Ace of the Diamond. I'm like, what's her deal? Like, what is happening with her? This like dark talent scout. What is going on? I love it. And they're both like, who's he? Do you know him? And he's like, no clue. He's like, the one thing Japanese soccer needs to become the best in the world. And it's like the birth of a revolutionary striker. Like he's got these long, slender arms and is this like crazy long neck. Like, I'm so curious to know what the deal is. What's his story? And I'm sure we're not going to find out anytime soon, but I'm like, what do we do with you, Ego? What do we do with you, Ego? So his basic notion is like, Japan's just holding hands singing Kumbaya. We're not striking. We're not moving forward. We need Ego. We need some talent. We need a player that's going to make us stand out. And so we have this Blue Lock facility. Like, it's a training facility. It's a dorm where they're basically going to striker school. And they got their owl to Hogwarts. And they're going there to like become the best striker out of 300. That's the idea. And I like the idea. I'm assuming, that they've told their parents, be like, look, we're going to sponsor your kids staying here. We're going to have them stay here. We're going to pay for everything. It's okay. We didn't just kidnap your kids. Don't worry. Although they kind of did. But they let them have an out. So like, we're going to let you leave if you want to. If you want to leave, go back to your high schools, do whatever. But if you want to stay, here you go. It's kind of like a weird mix of like, and I hate to say Hogwarts because I don't want to support J.K. Rowling and all of her weirdness, but I did grow up with Harry Potter, so it's like Hogwarts and Willy Wonka mixed together and given like a sports anime twist, right? It is kind of like Willy Wonka. We're going to narrow you down to the best one. And Ego does have like a Willy Wonka vibe to him where he's kind of like egotistical, kind of weird and maniacal, but you're somewhat like, you're not totally not at ease with him. There is like a level of weird comfort there, but he's like the sports anime Willy Wonka. And I'm here for it. I'm like, yes, please. But he's like, I promise you, if you can survive and beat the 299 guys here, then you'll become the last man standing, the world's greatest striker. That's all there is to it. That's it. It's the most basic of premises. And then I like that Kira is like, I'm not abandoning my team to participate in this nonsensical program. This is dumb. You're dumb. Like, he is like, in the weirdest of ways, Kira is like Charlie Bucket, sort of Willy Wonka. But then so is Isagi. And it's like, you have Charlie Bucket and Willy Wonka, who's like this innocent kid that believes in all these good things, but he also like, he wants to like better himself and become more self-confident. And it's kind of like you took Charlie Bucket and Willy Wonka and you split them into two characters. You split them into Isagi and into Kira, and they're both moving forward. Like, and because in some regards, Charlie is kind of attracted to the world that Willy Wonka presents. And that's like Isagi going forward into this story. And then Kira represents like the good, wholesome nature of Charlie that advances into the world to kind of prove the system wrong, right? And by the end of Willy Wonka, Charlie kind of proves himself as worthy of inheriting the world that Willy Wonka provides to him. But he also kind of points out a little bit of the hypocrisy with Willy Wonka's character. And I think that's what both of Isagi and Kira could do in this series. But I don't know where it's going. I was surprised at first because I was like, well, Kira seems like he's going to be a main character in this story. His character does several turns I didn't expect. One, I didn't expect him to be all about teamwork and Nakama. And I was like, oh, okay. You are against Ego's plan. Nice. I didn't expect him to stick around, but then I'm like, he seems like he's a main character in the story, so how is he going to stick around? Then we find out he sticks around to prove Ego wrong. He's here to prove Ego wrong and prove the system wrong. And I'm like, okay, I'm all about this character. And then we'll talk about him getting struck at the end because he's not leaving. No. I have my theories. We're going to talk about that. But Ego is just so ridiculous. He's like, is becoming the #1 high school team in this backwards country more important than the world's best striker. So Ego like calls out like saying Japan is doing it wrong. And yeah, become the best striker, whatever, but you're not going to be the best in the world. Like, why are we setting our sights so low? I'm like, okay. And he just calls out how like your teams aren't important. And he brings up the Japanese national team. And he's like, oh, well, we're a first-rate team, but we're not winning the World Cup. So in all other respects, we're undeniably second-rate. And he's like, what is soccer? Like, is it about you guys all working together? No. And I like that we get the redhead in here. I'm excited about the redhead. And I'm excited about the guy that looks like Ichigo Kurosaki, only more buff. And we see, like, is it about working together? We see the redhead. Is it about self-sacrifice? We see the guy with the orange hair. Playing for your teammates. We see the one that looks like Kenma. He's crazy. I like him already. And then, like, what else is it about? This is why we've remained weak. Because soccer is not about teamwork. Soccer is about scoring more goals than your opponent. That's the thing. You have games like basketball, where in basketball, you can't play it alone. You have to have 5 guys working together to make it work, right? It's just the way that the game goes, right? You have to have 5 strong guys. And typically, you know, unless you're Takeo, you have to work together to make it work. In baseball, you have 9 guys on a field. You can't play with just one person. You all have to work in tandem and work together and execute these plays to make it work. In running, you have to be strong individually, but you also have to work as a team, and you all have to be strong, but you have to work together. I guess soccer is most like, I guess the series is kind of like Run with the Wind, where you all have to individually be strong in your own way, and that helps out the group as a whole. Here, the object is to score the most goals. And yes, you have to have defense to stop those goals from happening. You have to have these 8 people, or 8 or however many people on defense to work. But at the end of the day, those guys are not scoring the goals. They are just helping you. They are your companions that help you on the field, but you are the ones scoring the goals. And you have to be the ones that are the most powerful. Basically, the series is saying the forward, the striker, is the most important part of the game. And if you're not able to be the best of the best, you're not going to be able to lead your team to victory. And that's the problem. Ego is saying that right now, the strikers we have are all about, well, let's work as a team. And he's like, no, you have to be the strongest striker and be able to make the points without the others. The others are just there to help you, but you are the most important on the field. And I'm like, okay, all right. We're establishing that the strikers have to be egoists. If you want to play friendly games with your buddy, then lock off. I like that lock off is just like just get out of here, right? I'm like, oh my God. And then everybody's like, okay, he is crazy, Ego. And then I like that Kira's like, take it back. I like that Kira's this white knight, supposedly, that, again, you don't think the pretty boy is going to be the one that's, like, all about the teamwork. Usually, in other series, he's the one that's like, oh, well, we don't need teamwork. I'm the best. And that's not the case here. Kira's like, no, take it back. We're all a team. But I'm like, by the end of the series, I think he's going to be like, okay, come on now. Are you really? Are you really like you say you are? He's like, they're my superstars. And he goes like, okay, whatever. But they never won the World Cup, did they? I'm like, Ego's so weird. I'm like, all right. Okay. I want to become the best in the world. And he gives all of these, he gives all of these quotations from other players. Instead of assisting my teammates to win 1-0, it feels better to pull off the hat trick and lose 3-4. And that's when he quotes Noel Noah, the world's greatest striker. He's like, who beat Masai and Cristiano Ronaldo to win the Ballon d'Or. He's like, Eric Cantona, I don't care about my team. I just want to stand out. And then Pele said the world's best forward, midfielder, defender, and goalkeeper. Whichever you ask about, the answer is still me. Meaning, like, I can do whatever you want me to. And basically the idea is, like, all of these players are so confident in themselves. They're like, whatever needs to be done, we'll do it. It's fine. Which is egotistical and is not like warm fuzzy Nakama, but he's like, they're the type of players we need to win the World Cup. We don't need people that are all about teamwork. That's what Japanese soccer lacks. And then Ego I love how dramatic everything about this is. And Isagi's like, this guy is like saying all these crazy things, but I kind of have thought about this the whole time. Like, again, he's like Erwin standing atop a mountain of corpses. He's like Erwin, like this is my dream. Like, I say Eren Yeager, but I'm also getting like Erwin Smith vibes, being like, I could do this. I could attain my dream by becoming the best striker. And this guy's program, like, he runs to it. Like, Isagi's like, this is what I've been looking for my whole life. Let's go. Oh my God. You're in the World Cup final. And he's like, live only for that moment. And he basically presents the same scenario that Isagi's team lost with. And Isagi's like, let's go. I'm the striker. Let's do this. And then they all run in, right? So I guess they told their families, like, we're going to kidnap your kids for however long this takes. We're going to go out into the middle of nowhere to this Blue Lock facility. And we're going to bust them out there and give them these skin-tight skin suits, which, you know what, I'm in my 30s, so I have no right to be hitting on these high school boys. No, I'm just like, quit putting them in skin tight suits, please. But we're gonna show off how much of an athlete they are. Whatever. And then here we go. And in room Z, of course they're in room Z because they're in the last room, right? And then we see them all together. So he's like, oh, and then Kira's like, oh, good, I'm sharing the room with somebody I know. And he's like, yeah, sure. I'm relieved too. We know each other. And so then we have the one guy who's super buff. And he's like, okay, it's fine. Here's your suit. Watch where you're walking. And then, yeah, so Denver 290, he's on there too. And he's like, Zico, pass the ball to me. Yeah, he seems like Kinma, but I don't trust him for a second. He seems also terrifying. So, the Kira Ryosuke. And so he's like, my family runs a temple, but I want to take over the family business. And then, like, Ego just pops up. Ego's like, okay, here's the thing. I have recently been watching Drag Race, RuPaul's Drag Race. RuPaul's Drag Race the last several months. And Ego is like, he's like RuPaul and Willy Wonka put together. Are you going to be Japan's next top striker? That's what this is. It's Japan's next top striker. Are you going to be America's next drag queen superstar? Then you got to be an egoist. That's literally what this is. Are you going to be Japan's next top striker? All right, fine. You got to be an egoist. You got to be willing to do the challenges. Think for yourself. Yeah, you're working with others on the same stage, but you got to be the one that stands out, right? Oh my God, that's literally what this is, which will come back to what I think is going to happen to Kira at the end of this. But yeah, literally Ego shows up, like Ego RuPaul shows up to talk about what the game is. Your first maxi challenge. Oh my God. So that basically all of these episodes are going to be episodes of Japan's Next Top Striker. Your abilities have been quantified and ranked by me. Oh my God, it's literally RuPaul's Drag Race. Only Blue Lock is finding it's all people that Ego is put together based on, you know, their ranks out of 300, what they think they are. So right now, and he's like, your ranks can change based on the results of your training or matches. So you can move up in the ranks. Your ranks can alter. So right now, Isagi starts out as number 299, right? Whatever. And so he's like, well, damn it, I'm this low. I got to work my way on up, right? And so, and he says, what does he say here? He's like, the top 5 players will unconditionally get to play in the tournament being held 6 months from now. They'll be registered as forwards for the U20 World Cup. So, the U20 Japanese team. So, basically, the top 5 are going to get to play in like a World Cup tournament representing Japan. So, the top 5 forwards are going to get to play in that tournament. Okay. Kind of like a national team. And he's like, oh shit, all right. So it is kind of like in Haikyuu, and my dogs are chasing each other, so excuse them. So in Haikyuu, Kageyama, who's a character on there, he's a setter, he gets to go to a national training camp, and then he gets to represent Japan in the national tournament. We just don't get to see it. This series is potentially going to let us see it. So I'm like, oh, that's exciting. That's cool. Nice. So he's like, okay, the first game, he's like, but if you don't get in the top 5 and lose at Blue Lock, you will never represent Japan. Now, is that set in stone? Are they never going to get to play for Japan? Possibly not. That's a pretty big stake. You're going to be blacklisted from ever playing in the national leagues. Okay. And Isagi's like, that's terrifying. So he's like, now we're going to play tag. And he's got all of their names pulled up. He's got all of there's 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 12 in the room, right? Okay, so there's 12 here. And he's got them all pulled up, right? Are they 12 different ones? Yeah. So he's got 12 different people pulled up on the screen. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And there's 12. So he's got 12 people pulled up there, right? Okay. Of them all playing. You have 136 seconds. Whoever's struck by the ball is it. Whoever's it the moment the time runs out will be locked off. Okay. And he's like, what? He's like, no, using your hands. Yep. So we'll start out with Garimu. Garimu is first. So we have Garimu, who looks kind of like, he looks like Connie off of Attack on Titan. He's number 300. We have Garimu. He's number 300. And then he's like, here we go. And they're like, this isn't soccer. So he's like, well, I have to strike first. So who does he end up striking? I want to find out like who these people are that he hits, right? And so I wanted to see what number Kira was. Okay. He's like, I'm here to prove him wrong. Uh-huh. And so there's this one guy that has the blonde hair that is like mad at him throwing all of this. I want to see who he ends up hitting. Okay, now number 290 is the one that strikes him in the face, right? That's number 290. And they call a foul in there. He's like, this were a game, that'd be a red card. He's like, only handballs are against the rules, right? Morning. Okay, and they're like, what's with this guy? Who's he? And so then we have this other guy. We don't really get their names, which sucks. I want to see if we get, okay, so we got him. Okay, what we get here? Blue Lock ranking 291. Kunigami. So Kunigami is number 291. He's the one that looks like Ichigo. Kunigami. He's the one that does that. And then the one guy ends up taking the ball, right? He ends up taking the ball, like, he tries to get Kunigami struck, but then he ends up taking it. Because here's the thing. The one thing is, oh my God, they're just chasing each other. The one thing is that Garimo, he falls down and is like, stay back, stay away from me, don't hit me. And Isagi has the ball. And he's wondering, do I hit Garimo and give him the ball? And we've only got like a minute left. Do I do that and then make the game over easy? Like, that's all it takes. Like, all I have to do is hit him. I know he's the weakest link. Just get him out of here and go. But what I like about it is that Isagi kind of thinks to himself, he's like, well, wait a minute. He's like, am I here just to destroy the weakest links one by one? Is that really why I'm here? Or am I here to become the best striker? And if I'm going to become the best striker, I want to take on the top players, right? Then I want to do that. Unless I beat someone stronger, nothing's going to change. I have to take on the top players to become the strongest myself, which is a good mentality, right? It's a good mentality. It's like, no, I want to take out my top competition. And then that's when the guy that looks like Kinma is like, I like you. I like this. If you're going to beat somebody, then let's go. It's got to be the strongest one here. So Bachira Maguru. We have Bachira Maguru. He is number 290. Bachira Maguru. And I don't know what I'm going to end up calling him. Bachira seems pretty cool. Old Bachi. Bachira, he's number 290. So we really have, this is the bottom group. These guys are the bottoms of the bottom, right? The lower 300. So it should be 288 to 300 should be the group that's in the room right now, right? And so he ends up striking it and tries to go after, yeah, because is that right? 288 is Kira? I think so. He like tries to go after and strike him and says, in the world of soccer, you can train first-rate goalkeepers, defenders, and midfielders. But strikers are different. Okay, a first-rate striker will find where soccer is the most intense. And the strongest guy. And he's like, boom. And strikes him in the face. Oh my gosh. with like the dramatic, the blood and everything. It's very JoJo's, it feels. The strongest guy and suddenly appear there. He'll find the strongest guy and appear. And so then Kira. So Kira was number 288. He was the strongest guy in the room. And that's the one that Isagi and Bachira kind of struck at together to try to get him out, right? That was the thing. So yeah, I like the concept here that they're saying that in the game of soccer, you can train a goalkeeper, you can train the guys on defense in the midfield, you can train them to do their job well, but strikers have to act the most autonomous. They have to be the ones that have the most intuition. They have to be the ones that knows where the ball is and be able to strike at any given time. They're the ones that have to like go up and do their thing the best. I like it. I feel like if you play fullback, center, or midfield in soccer and you're watching this series, you're like, well, I'm important too, you know. But yeah, so they struck Kira. So theoretically, Kira should be kicked out, right? Right? He should be gone. Before I saw the ED and saw him still hanging around in the ED, I was like, they're not going to just kick Kira out, right? They're not just going to kick Kira out. And he seems like a main character material. They're not just going to kick him out. But here's what makes me think of RuPaul's Drag Race. There's a season of that show where they do like a competition and they knock people out in groups. And the person who wins the group advances into this section, into this group, and they're like the winners group. And then the ones that got knocked out, they're called the pork chops. And they get knocked out over here and they're the losers group. But they don't leave the competition. They just get put into a different group, and then it's like, oh, well, you lost, so are you going to leave, or are you going to work your way back up to the top and show those people that how strong you really are? That's what I think is going to happen to Kira. I think that Kira is going to get taken out of their division, their group, and placed in another group of the ones that lost their first challenge, and they're going to work their way back up to try to face in Isagi and the others again. I think that's what's going to end up happening, right? And that competitive drive, Kira's not used to losing, right? He's not used to being the one. He's used to being the star. He's part of the winning team. He's the one that always wins. So him possibly being in a loser group, oh, no. And I think that's what's going to cause like the little crack in that little facade of, oh, we're just teammates, we're friends. I'm just here for my teammates. I'm placing them over myself. Nah. I think that him losing this first challenge is going to be the crack that makes him go, well, wait a minute, no, I'm not a loser, and makes him work his way back up. That's what I think is going to happen. And I'm here for it. Yes, I'm here for it indeed. I'm excited by that opportunity, by that notion. Yes, please. So yeah, I think that's what's going to happen. He's going to get placed in a group and realize that no, he wants to work his way back up to the top, get revenge on Isagi for getting him out in the first round, right? I think that's what's going to lead. And then if we have, there's so many things they can do. We have all these different challenges. They could end up facing other groups. And I think Kira's going to move to another group, meet other players. Isagi's going to stay with this group and kind of interact with them. And then we're going to go from there. Yeah. With a series like this and a premise this bonkers, there's a lot of opportunity for crazy things to happen. So I'm on board. Hand me the blue Kool-Aid. Let's go. I'm going to be curious to see what kind of maxi challenges are Japan's top striker faces. And is Isagi is he going to go home at the end of the week, or is he going to keep rising up the ranks? I'm here for it. So we'll see what they end up doing with Kira, but he's not leaving the show, but we're going to end up seeing what they end up doing with him, right? I think he's going to become in the pork chop group and work his way back up to face Isagi again. Will that happen by the end of the season? We'll see, but all right, you Blue Log enthusiasts, you got me drinking the Kool-Aid. I'm here to see what's going to end up happening. I've talked for nearly an hour about episode 1, so we'll see what happens. But in the meantime, I hope you all enjoyed this reaction discussion. I'm curious to hear your thoughts down below, but please, no manga spoilers, no spoilers to the anime. I want to go in blind. I want to find things out as we go, but I'm excited to hear your thoughts down below. And in the meantime, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, I'll be back real soon, y'all, with episode 2 of Blue Lock. Bye!